Man blood.
Bet you didn't know you could buy man blood at Starbucks, did ya? Hello, filthy man things. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be talking about Resident Evil 8, aka Resident Evil Village. Whew. This thing is hot, and I don't have my air conditioning on so that you can actually hear me speak, and it's summer in Texas, so I just finished my second playthrough of Resident Evil 8, and I noticed something that I thought was interesting and that I wanted to talk about. Resident Evil 8 follows Ethan Winters as he struggles to find his daughter Rose Winters in a perilous winter village in Eastern Europe, probably Romania. And that specifically is what I want to talk about. The theme of daughters. It relates to three characters in particular: Ethan, Lady Dimitrescu, and Miranda. Each of these characters would do anything to protect their child or children. What I would like to suggest / explore is that no one of these characters is the good or bad guy. Let's start with Ethan, because he's our protagonist. He is the person through whom we play the game for the most part, and he is the person that we are meant to be rooting for because, in essence, you know, it's a first-person game. We are Ethan. The player is Ethan. This frames Ethan as good and the other characters who stand in his way as bad. The Dimitrescu girls.
Man blood.
And Lady Dimitrescu herself. So what makes her bad is that she is in Ethan's way. That's what makes her bad.
Oh, be careful what you wish for, Ethan Winters.
But is she bad? When I was playing the section of the Dimitrescu castle, which is by far the best section of the game, I was reminded of a movie that came out decades ago with Nicole Kidman called The Others. I'm not going to spoil this specific case of what happens. Just kidding, I'm definitely going to spoil it, so spoiler warning. Nicole Kidman and her two kids are living in a house, and they are convinced that they are being haunted by evil spirits, and the whole movie is about them trying to navigate being haunted. The kids have an affliction where they cannot come into contact with sunlight. Nicole Kidman's character, as the mom, has to keep all of the curtains on the windows shut at all times. And there's one scene that is really hard to watch, where the kids wake up and the curtains are open, and the mom is convinced that it's the evil spirits doing that. And so she has to race to close the curtains, and the kids are screaming, and you think the kids are going to die because they can't be in contact with sunlight at all. Eventually, at the end of the movie, you realize that the kids and the mom are the ghosts, and they've actually been haunting these new people that just moved into the house. So there are real human beings living in the house, and the real human beings are the ones who open the curtains. They are just trying to live their lives in the house, and the Nicole Kidman character and her kids are actually dead and they didn't know they were dead, and so they've been inadvertently haunting these poor new people who are just trying to live their lives in the house. But you spend the whole movie thinking that the kids and the mom are the victims and that they're, the good guys, and that they are being traumatized by some kind of evil spirit, when really they are the ones traumatizing these poor people who just moved into this new house and have no idea what's going on. I believe that the developers of Resident Evil Village were actually maybe even just slightly inspired by that movie, The Others, that I just ranted about. The three daughters, Dimitrescu, are allergic to cold air. They're made of insects, and the insects can't touch the cold. So Alcina has to keep all the windows boarded up. Everything has to be closed completely. You read in a diary, one of the maids opened a window and then she got taken to the basement, which is where people literally go to die. Very similar to The Others. Single mother with the kids, and it is so strikingly similar. It highlights this idea. The good and bad person is not really an objective thing.
I'm sorry, President Summers, but what you just said makes no sense to me at all.
I'm devastated by that.
What?
In The Others, the good guys, or the protagonists, are the mom and the kids, simply by reason of their perspective being our perspective. And it's the exact same in Resident Evil 8. Ethan Winters is the good guy protagonist simply by reason of his perspective being our perspective. We are playing as Ethan, so he must be the good guy, right? And he must be completely justified in plundering, essentially, Alcina Dimitrescu's castle, destroying her life, murdering her three daughters.
You come into my house! You lay your filthy man hands on my daughters! And now you even try to steal my property! How dare you!
Needlessly, I might add. He has no proof and really no good reason to believe that his daughter is even in the castle. Alcina even tells him multiple times that Rose is not there in the castle.
All this for a child who isn't even here.
What makes Ethan's actions good? Just because he's doing what he's doing for the sake of his daughters? But Alcina Dimitrescu has done everything she's done for the sake of her daughters. It's just two people doing whatever they can to protect their children. So what makes Ethan so much better than Alcina? Or what makes Alcina the villain who needs to be killed along with her daughters? Why should we protect Ethan's daughter Rose over the three daughters of Alcina Dimitrescu? You might say Alcina Dimitrescu has used all these people from the village as a feeding trough for herself and her daughters. I am pretty sure that Ethan would do similarly heinous things for his own daughter. Look at everything Alcina would do for her daughters. She would board up all the windows of her castle for them. She would kill anybody who even considers opening the window just to prevent that from happening in the future. She would covertly hire people as housekeepers just for access to fresh blood for the daughters. Not trying to be the murder apologist here. I'm just saying she does all these things for her daughters, which is the exact same moral code that Ethan subscribes to. That's the whole reason he's here. He doesn't even think twice about like whether these girls might have feelings or souls or intentions or lives or how murdering these three daughters might affect Alcina herself.
Cassandra? Cassandra? No! How much blood and sweat do you think it took to raise those daughters?
She says something along the lines of, how can you talk about rescuing your daughter when you've murdered mine? I mean, come on. Ethan really pissed me off in this game, and I was not that unhappy when he died. The last character I want to talk about in this daughter moral ambiguity theme is Miranda. Miranda, she's the main villain of Resident Evil 8. She lost her daughter Ava to the Spanish flu. She's been using the mold, experimenting on different people in this Eastern European village to try to create the perfect host for her daughter to be reincarnated in. She knows that Ava, her daughter's consciousness, is in the mold somewhere. So if she can just find or create a host for Ava, then she can upload Ava's consciousness back into the host and have her daughter back alive again. That's why she has been doing everything she's doing. Yeah, it's all for her daughter. The fact that your daughter has tragically died does not give you license to murder and torture everybody around you, obviously. But I just think it's an interesting parallel. That's all. I just think it's interesting that Miranda and Ethan are motivated by the same thing. They're motivated by the desire to save their daughter. Neither of them would be here if it weren't for their daughter's sakes. Part of me wonders if the game were from Miranda's perspective, if it might be sort of an anti-hero type of story. It's all about perspective. It's all about, if we were playing from the perspective of Bela, then Ethan would clearly be the bad guy. He's just this random dude who breaks into their house and tries to murder them. That's the basis for a million different creepypastas, a million different horror movies, and nobody thinks, well, maybe the intruder had good intentions or good reasons for murdering your children. Anyway, new microphone coming soon. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.